about Jodi Shaw that I want to talk about next. Whistleblower at Smith College resigns over racism. Jodi Shaw made less in a year than the cost of tuition. She was offered a settlement, but turned it down. Here's why. So Jodi Shaw is an amazing woman who became a whistleblower for what was going on with the woke nonsense at Smith College, and they had actually put her on administrative leave while they were investigating her tweets about the college, and she ended up resigning because it was a really stressful situation for her. Let's read the story, and let's read her resignation letter. We all know that something morally grotesque is swallowing liberal America. Almost no one wants to risk talking about it out loud. Every day I get phone calls from anxious Americans complaining about an ideology that wants to pull all of us into the past. I get calls from parents telling me about the damaging things being taught in schools, so-called anti-racist programs that urge children to obsess on the color of their skin. I get calls from people working in corporate America forced to go to trainings in which they learn that they carry collective race-based guilt or benefit from collective race-based virtue. I get calls from young people just launching their careers telling me that they feel they have no choice but to profess fealty to this ideology in order to keep their jobs. Almost no one who calls me is willing to go public, and I understand why. To go public with what's happening is to risk their jobs and their reputation. But the hour is very late. It calls for courage, and courage has come in the form of a woman named Jodi Shaw. Jodi Shaw was, until this afternoon, a staffer at Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts. She made $45,000 a year, less than the yearly tuition at the school. She is a divorced mother of two. She is a lifelong liberal and an alumna of the college. And she has had a front row seat to the illiberal, neo-racist ideology masquerading as progress. In October 2020, Shaw felt she had exhausted all of her internal options, and she posted a video on YouTube blowing the whistle on what she says is an atmosphere of racial discrimination at the school. I asked that Smith College stop reducing my personhood to a racial category. Stop telling me what I must think and feel about myself. Stop presuming to know who I am or what my culture is based on my skin color. Stop asking me to project stereotypes and assumptions onto others based on their skin color. And I will link this whole thing in the description below so you can go and watch the video for yourself. Now today, she is resigning from the college. In doing that, and in speaking out, she is turning down a settlement that would have given her a much easier way out. We need more people like her. Here's how Shaw put it in her resignation letter to Smith College President Kathleen McCartney, which she sent to me to publish in full. And I'm going to read the full letter. It's a little long, but I think that this is really important. Dear President McCartney, I am writing to notify you that effective today, I am resigning from my position as a student support coordinator in the Department of Residence Life at Smith College. This has not been an easy decision, as I now face a deeply uncertain future. As a divorced mother of two, the economic uncertainty brought about by this resignation will impact my children as well. But I have no choice. The racially hostile environment that the college has subjected me to for the past 2.5 years has led me physically and mentally debilitated. I can no longer work in this environment, nor can I remain silent about a matter so central to basic human dignity and freedom. I graduated from Smith College in 1993. Those 4 years were among the best in my life. Naturally, I was over the moon when years later, I had the opportunity to join Smith as a staff member. I loved my job, and I loved being back at Smith. But the climate and my place at the college changed dramatically when in July 2018, the culture war arrived at our campus when a student accused a white staff member of calling campus security on her because of racial bias. The student, who is black, shared her account of this incident widely on social media, drawing a lot of attention to the college. Before even investigating the facts of the incident, the college immediately issued a public apology to the student, placed the employee on leave, and announced its intention to create new initiatives, committees, workshops, trainings, and policies aimed at combating systemic racism on campus. In spite of an independent investigation into the incident that found no evidence of racial bias, the college ramped up its initiatives aimed at dismantling the supposed racism that pervades the campus. This only served to support the now prevailing narrative that the incident had been racially motivated and that Smith staff are racist. Allowing this narrative to dominate what has had a profound impact on the Smith community and on me personally. For example, in August 2018, just days before I was to present a library orientation program into which I had poured tremendous amounts of time and effort and which had been previously approved by my supervisors, I was told that I could not proceed with the planned program because it was going to be done in rap form. And because you are white, my supervisor told me that that could be viewed as cultural appropriation. My supervisor made clear he did not object to a rap in general, nor to the idea of using music to convey orientation information to students. The problem was my skin color. I was up for a full-time position in the library at the time, and I was essentially informed that my candidacy for that position was dependent upon my ability in a matter of days to reinvent a program to which I had devoted months of time. Humiliated and knowing my candidacy for the full-time position was now dead in the water, I moved into my current lower-paying position as the Student Support Coordinator in the Department of Residence Life. As it turned out, my experience in the library was just the beginning. In my new position, I was told on multiple occasions that discussing my personal thoughts and feelings about my skin color is a requirement of the job. I endured racially hostile comments and was expected to participate in racially prejudicial behavior as a continued condition of my employment. I endured meetings in which other staff members violently banged his fist on the table, chanting "rich white women," in reference to Smith alumni. I listened to my supervisor openly named preferred racial quotas for job openings in our department. I was given supplemental literature in which the world's population was reduced to two categories: dominant group members and subordinate group members, based solely on characteristics like race. Every day, I watched my colleagues manage student conflict through the lens of race, projecting rigid assumption and stereotypes on students, thereby reducing them to the color of their skin. I am asked to do the same, as well as to support a curriculum for students that teaches them to project these same stereotypes and assumptions onto themselves and others. I believe such a curriculum is dehumanizing, prevents authentic connection, and undermines the moral agency of young people who are just beginning to find their way in the world. Although I have spoken to many staff and faculty at the college who are deeply troubled by all of this, they are too terrified to speak about it. This illustrates the deeply hostile and fearful culture that pervades Smith College. The last straw came in January 2020 when I attended a mandatory residence life staff retreat focused on racial issues. They hired facilitators, asked each member of the department to respond to various personal questions about race and racial identity. When it was my turn to respond, I said, "I don't feel comfortable talking about that." I was the only person in the room to abstain. Later, the facilitators told everyone present that a white person's discomfort at discussing their race is a symptom of white fragility. They said that the white person, they seem like they're in distress, but this is actually a power play. In other words, because I am white, my genuine discomfort was framed as an act of aggression. I was shamed and humiliated in front of my colleagues. I filed an internal complaint about the hostile work environment, but throughout the process, over the course of almost 6 months, I felt like my complaint was taken less seriously because of my race. I was told that the civil rights law's protections were not created to help people like me. And after I filed my complaint, I started to experience retaliatory behavior, like having important aspects of my job taken away without explanation. Under the guise of racial progress, Smith College has created a racially hostile environment in which individual acts of discrimination and hostility flourish. In this environment, people's worth as human beings and the degree to which they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect is determined by the color of their skin. It is an environment in which dissenting from the new critical race theory orthodoxy, or even failing to swear fealty to it like some kind of McCarthy-era loyalty oath, is grounds for public humiliation and public retaliation. I can no longer continue to work in an environment where I am constantly subjected to additional scrutiny because of my skin color. I can no longer work in an environment where I am told publicly that my personal feelings of discomfort under such scrutiny are not legitimate, but instead are a manifestation of white supremacy. Perhaps most importantly, I can no longer work in an environment where I am expected to apply similar race-based stereotypes and assumptions to others, and where I am told, when I complain about having to engage in what I believe to be discriminatory practices, that there are legitimate reasons for asking employees to consider race as in order to achieve the college's social justice objectives. What passes for progress today at Smith and at so many other institutions is regressive. It taps into humanity's worst instincts to break down into warring factions, and I fear that it is rapidly leading us to a very twisted place. It terrifies me that others don't seem to see the racial segregation and demonization are wrong and dangerous, no matter what its victims look like. Being told that any disagreement or feelings of discomfort somehow upholds white supremacy is not just morally wrong. It is psychologically abusive. Equally troubling are the many others who understand, know full well how damaging it is, but do not speak out due to fear of professional retaliation, social censure, and loss of their livelihood and reputation. I fear by the time people see it, or those who see it manage to screw up the moral courage to speak out, perhaps scrounge up there would be better, Jodi, it will be too late. I wanted to change things at Smith. I hope that by bringing an internal complaint, I could somehow get the administration to see that their capitulation to critical race orthodoxy was causing very real, measurable harm. When that failed, I hoped that drawing public attention to these problems at Smith would finally awaken the administration to this reality. I have come to conclude, however, that the college is so deeply committed to this toxic ideology that the only way for me to escape the racially hostile climate is to resign. It is completely unacceptable that we are now living in a culture in which one must choose between remaining in a racially hostile, psychologically abusive environment or giving up their income. As a proud Smith alum, I know what a critical role the institution has played in shaping my life and the lives of so many women for 150 years. I want to see the institution be the force for good I know it can be. I will not give up fighting against this dangerous pall of orthodoxy that has descended over Smith and so many of our educational institutions. This is an extremely difficult decision for me and comes at a deep personal cost. I make $45,000 a year, less than a year's tuition for a Smith student. I was offered a settlement in exchange for my silence, but I turned it down. My need to tell the truth and to be the kind of woman Smith taught me to be makes it impossible for me to accept financial security at the expense of remaining silent about something I know is wrong. My children's future, and indeed our collective future as a free nation, depends on people having the courage to stand up to this dangerous and divisive ideology, no matter what. Now, Jodi Smith was very, very brave in this, and what she did was she set up a GoFundMe to help with her living expenses. And because Jodi Smith was so brave, people showed up for her, donating $172,000 to make sure she has the financial security to start fighting back. However, there's a snag in the works. Jodi tweeted this out yesterday. The GoFundMe has placed my fundraiser under review, and there is now a hold on all funds. I fear it is for ideological reasons. If so, it shows what we are up against. For now, please donate through my PayPal. And you can see she's updated it here as well so that people know what's going on. I will link to both the GoFundMe, but I strongly encourage you, if you want to support Jodi, make sure you go to her PayPal and make a donation there for right now. I hope GoFundMe does the right thing by releasing those funds because, and if they don't, it is one of the clearest violations of this sort of cancel culture, this mentality of canceling everyone you disagree with. Jodi Smith's fundraiser is clear what she is asking for. She is not a racist. She is not a bad person in any way. If they cancel her for this one, I think GoFundMe has basically screwed themselves. So hopefully they do the right thing and they release this money, because when people do what Jodi Shaw did and speak up and are brave, people will show up for them. Look at this. One person donated $5,000. My God, how generous are people when you show up and you do the right thing?